Mike Kennedy. We've got a book here called The Audubon, from the National Audubon Society, Mushrooms of the North America. Now this is replacing the previous edition they did, and they did it in quite a different format. If you're familiar with the Audubon Guide series, you usually think of something more like this size, more like maybe 4 by 7, something like good stuff in your back pocket. And so what this is going to allow them to do, that really needed to be done, is update the mushroom names. What's happened in the mushroom world has been that, especially over these last 10 years, DNA testing of things prices dropped dramatically. If you say you were going to have to DNA test 15 or 20 mushrooms, that could be really expensive at one time. Well, it's less now, which it means, now I'm not necessarily saying it's individuals doing it, but, someone could be backed by, a school or something, and they could certainly afford to do this. And what's happened is it's caused mushroom names and categories to change, because something that looks like something and was in that group before, now we DNA test it and we find out, oh, it isn't really like any of these, it's like this over here. So, the name was changed, it was moved. There's a mushroom in here. This is actually my favorite mushroom to eat. It used to be called bicolor bolete, and now it's Borangi bicolor. And this reflects the idea that looking at it, it has the outward appearance of being bolete, but with this DNA thing, we can actually tell that it belonged in a different group altogether. So one of the problems with the previous guide was there was only one picture for the species of mushroom, and there was just a short section. Well, now we've gone into a much better thing, and we've got, let's take northern tooth. This whole page is dedicated to that one mushroom, and you can see here we have 3 on the bottom and 1 on the top, and so that gives you a much better idea of what it looks like. And then the individual things that it talks about, they have just a general paragraph at the beginning, then it talks about the growth habit. This one grows up to 30 centimeters high. What's the cap look like? What do the teeth look like? Things can have teeth, pores, or gills as ways that mushroom spores are, spread out. It talks about the flesh of it. Does it smell? What is the spore print color? In other words, if you take a mature mushroom, you cut off the cap, put it on a piece of paper, and cover that with a bowl, you come back in from 8 to 24 hours, and you can see that all the spores it dropped, and you also can see a pattern. Now, sometimes these patterns are really kind of beautiful in a way, and so some people have even done, have the spore pit drop on something, and then they seal it off and actually, use it as some artwork. It's talking about the habitat, and we have this one saying high on the trunk of dead maples, or the wounds of living ones. So primarily it's eating dead material. There's one of these, there used to be a very large one of these northern tooth that is completely inedible. Okay, this doesn't do edibility, but in one of the cemeteries we have in Westbrook, there was a large mass of this on one tree. So we've got the range throughout the east, except for the Gulf Coast states. Then it goes into lookalikes, which is really an important paragraph because it can talk to you about what mushrooms look like it and are not it. And this is where the mushroom identification gets tricky. And they're not, there's no rules you can actually make about mushrooms. Some people are like, oh, here's this rule about puffballs. Any puffball, as long as it's white, you can eat it. And it's like, well, that isn't exactly true, because earth stars, when they're younger, they can be completely white and they're poisonous. Now, it is true as they grow and you would cut one in half. I'm thinking of the Pacific pigskin puffball. The center will be black. And but you can even have some mushrooms, like an amanita, that emerge kind of like egg-shaped. And it would be easy to look at that and say, oh, this is the final shape of this thing. Let's eat this. And really, if you cut the thing through, you would see the structure of the stem and the gill, that it's a complete mushroom kind of in this, round bunch. And of course, as it grows up, all those things are going to be opening up and moving further away from each other, and you're going to see the typical mushroom. And it says it's not uncommon to find these as well. So, I mean, this is, I think this is a really decent book. I wouldn't recommend that you just get this and then you try hunting for mushrooms. You could do that, just be committed not to eat anything, because still much better is our guides that have the good to eat mushrooms. It's like, do we really want to know if what of these 700 mushrooms are edible, or do we want to know what say 25 of these mushrooms are edible and desirable? In other words, just because you can eat something doesn't make it something you want to eat. So there we go. It covers about less than 700. The old guide, I believe, had a little more than 700. And the only thing negative about it, you could say in a way, is it's big. But that's the beauty of it too, because of the photographs and everything. It's probably not going to be the size of a field guide that you can have in your back pocket. And speaking of that, I'm just going to mention again there. I'm going to switch over to plants. Sim Thayer's Field Guide to Edible Wild Plants. This one's $32. Again, we're looking at 736 pages. I don't know if he actually has a count of how many. Oh, depicting more than 700 edible species of plants. It has range maps for each thing, and just has all kinds of good information. I'll just show you, pick out a page for that. You can see there'll be more than one photograph. There'll be notes, and this one, I don't know if I measured it with the Audubon. They tell you how rare they are or how common they are, so they kind of have a conservation note in there about things, and the same with the plants. Maine actually has no protected plants. People say, oh yeah, lady slipper. Well, no, they haven't actually done that. I mean, I don't know why, but Maine just hasn't got around to making any rules about plants. Now, they do have a list of you know, rare plants. But technically, if you go and pick those or dig them up or whatever, as long as, you know, you own the property or whatever, or you have permission from the landowner, it wouldn't be a crime. Now, there are certain plants I wouldn't do that. I mean, just make it something, because something's legal doesn't make it a good idea necessarily. So there you have the little bit about the plant guide, but mostly the information about the mushroom guide, Audubon's Mushrooms of North America. Bye.